Welcome everybody. In today's video I would like to show you a few exercises you can do with these mini bands. It's a really handy piece of equipment. I will show you a few exercises you can do for your hip flexors and core, as well as for your gluteal muscles. We will start with one of the basic exercises you can do for your hip flexors. You are also working on your core. You will put this mini band around your feet and place yourself on the ground. The starting position should be with a nice and straight torso. You are pulling your chin down, placing your hands on the ground. The angle of the hip and knee is almost like a 90 degree. Your knee should be a little bit closer to you, so you have a higher activity of the hip flexors. At the beginning, you will try to take a few deep breaths and exhale to keep your ribs down. As you perform your first rep, you will take a deep breath, and with the exhale, you are pushing with one leg forward. The opposite leg is holding the position. You can also do the variation where you just take a deep breath and hold the breath through the movement. And exhale as you return back. Then you can do a standing variation. Here you have to take slightly light resistance because it's harder, it's larger range of motion. You will need some support. You can use the wall or basically anywhere you can place your hands at. You will put your hands trying to make a full contact. You have a nice and neutral spine, head in a line with the spine. Again, you will take a deep breath and pull your leg towards you. You are also working in your ankle. Your fingers should point up, not down. It will be sliding down and you won't be able to perform the movement correctly. Your glute here is active, so you are standing nice and straight. You try to avoid any shifting in the pelvis. These are two basic exercises for hip flexors. Now we are moving toward exercises you can do for your glutes. One of the most favorite exercises is clamshell. You will put the band slightly above your knees. You will lie on the ground like you want to go and fall asleep. You want to maintain a small space here. You are not lying inactively on the ground. You are slightly pressing up, pulling here your shoulder down, and now you try to move only in your hip. With the exhale, you are going up. You try to avoid any movement with your torso, as well as try to avoid any movement in your spine or anywhere else. You are only moving like heel to heel, and you should feel it in your hip. Yeah, not much on the side. Really focus on squeezing your glute actively. If you look from the rear part, you can see that I have a small space here. I'm nice and straight, and I'm using only my glute here, not going out with my pelvis and the rest of the spine. The next exercise you can do with this band is a basic bridge. But here, the band forces you to go out, so you are externally rotate your hip and putting more emphasis on the glutes. You will take a deep breath, squeeze your glutes, push through the heel and push slightly out with your knees also. Here you are finishing the movement nice and straight. You don't want to go higher, arching in your lower back. You try to keep your ribs down, only moving in your pelvis. You are not starting by doing this. You want to stay nice and neutral during the whole time. So you only take a deep breath and going up until you are nice and straight and going back. You are focusing on doing this movement with your glutes. If you really feel your hamstrings, you are probably doing this. So keep your heels a bit closer and really focus on contracting your glutes as you go up. You can go slower, it's not necessary to go fast. If you are able to do these two exercises, then you can progress up to a standing position. Very favorite exercises are those where you do a side walk or moving somewhere with the band again slightly above your knees. Very good preparation you can do is to hinge slightly back, so you can see me clearly from the side that I'm hinging back, maintaining nice and straight back. This is putting a bigger emphasis on my glutes. I want to have the position where the hip, knee and ankle are in one line, and I'm also putting my feet in a complete contact with the ground. You will try to collapse in, which is the incorrect position, and then pressing out into position where I have my glute active. So try to do it few times separately. You don't want to go that much out that you are losing the contact on the ground. You will do the opposite side, and if you feel comfortable maintaining this position, you can progress to moving to side. Really focus on moving first with your knee. You don't want to go with your feet forward first. It's this movement. You are maintaining the press, really squeezing your glutes hard, and then you are going the opposite way. It's not this. You should never start with your feet first. You want to maintain the position to have your glutes really active. If you really want to focus on the feet positioning, you can put the band around the ankles. Sometimes I also like the variation where I leave one of the bands here, the harder one, and put another one closer down there. You are adding the resistance, plus you are really focusing on a good position on your feet, and you want a small space here so the arch is not collapsing in. You can also combine the resistance by putting both bands together. Here we have a special variation, some people call it monster walk. You are basically going forward in 45 degrees, and again I like to put people in that hip hinge position because you are increasing the demands on your glutes. You are slowly going forward and in 45 degrees to the side. And then you want to stay mainly on this leg. Yeah, I'm really doing small steps, but you can go really harder, going back, also maintaining the hip, knee, ankle alignment. You can also progress to variation where you have to hold yourself on one leg and doing the clamshell in a standing variation. You will put the band again slightly above your knees, and you will go slowly to the hip hinge position, then slowly raise your leg. You are really working on the balance here and go to the side and back. And this is really hard progression. You have to keep your glute active here, and you are also working on the glute here. One of the final variation or correction you can use is where you see that people are using or losing their knee positioning throughout the squat. You can do a variation where you put light resistance here and you force them to press the knees out by reminding them, or the band reminds them that they have to push with their feet out throughout the whole movement. In the squat you are placing your feet slightly wider than the hip width is. You are facing around 15 to 45 degrees, it depends on your anatomy. You want again the full contact with the ground. You want the correct position in your pelvis. You don't want any movement as you go up, like sticking the butt out. You want to keep your glutes active, nice and straight torso. Take a deep breath. Slowly descend down while pushing with the knees out and then up. You can often see that people, as they descend down, they are losing the positioning of their knees. So you want to go nice and straight, slowly touching something behind you. The movement is both simultaneously in your hip and in your knee. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions regarding these mini bands, feel free to ask. You have of course so many other variations we can show you.